Okay guys, here we go. We are going to do some vocab on finding the slope from a graph. We've done slope from a table, we've done slope from an equation. Now we're going to look at finding slope from a graph, and then we're going to be comparing the rates of objects in motion. Okay, so when we're trying to find the rate, when we talk about the rate, we're talking about the slope. Okay, so rate is the same as the slope. Okay, it's just another word for it. And when we talk about finding that, remember when we found the slope was the change in y over the change in x. Okay, so how does that translate to a graph? So when we're talking about a graph, the change in y is the change up and down. So you've probably heard this before. We're going to talk about the rise or the fall from one point to another. Okay, so when we're talking about the change in y, we are talking about the rise or fall. And then when we talk about the change in x, x is left and right. So we're talking about the run. So you've probably heard rise over run before, but we're going to say rise or fall because depending on what your graph is doing, it could be rising or falling. Okay, and when we do that, that's going to give us our rate. Okay, so we're going to look at the three different parts of this graph. There's 4 pieces, but we're actually just going to look at 3 parts. So we're going to look at part A, we're going to look at part B, and we're going to look at part C. Okay, B and D are very similar, so we're not going to look at both of those. Okay, so we're going to start with part A. Okay, and I'm going to find 2 points that fall on the intersection of grid lines. We want to be precise, so we don't want to be estimating where a point is. So I'm going to choose this one up here. That's right on 12, 0, 12. And then I'm going to choose, let's choose this one. Okay, 2, 8. Okay, you could choose any 2 points. You just want to make sure that they fall on the intersection of a grid. Okay, and then we're going to start at the point on the left. So I'm going to start at this point. And I'm going to see if I'm rising or falling to meet my next point. And I'm falling. So I'm falling 1, 2, 3, 4. So because I'm falling, I'm going in the negative direction. So I'm going down 4. And I'm running right 2. Okay, so when I go to find the slope or the rate of part A, my rate is -4 divided by 2, which equals -2 floors per second. We're going to look at part B now. Now you might intuitively know what the rate is for part B just by knowing that the object is stopped when it's horizontal, but we're still going to show how that calculates. Okay, so any 2 points that are on the grid lines, so I can pick those 2 points. Okay, if I start at my point on the left, I'm not going up or down at all to get to the second point. Okay, so I don't have any rise or fall, so I have 0. And then I'm running 1, which gives us a rate of 0 floors per second. And if we think about that, that makes sense, right? If an object is stopped, which we know a horizontal line means the object is stopped, then the rate would be 0, the slope would be 0, the speed would be 0, you're not moving. Okay, let's do C. I'm gonna pick this point and this point. Okay, so I'm starting with part C. And from my point, my left hand point, I'm rising 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm rising 4 and I'm running 2. So +4 over 2 gives me a rate of 2 floors per second. Okay, and that's it. So today we're going to focus on pulling that rate from looking at a graph. All right. We're not going to go through all of these examples in the video. However, you will have all of them worked out in teacher notes. Okay, let's take a look at elevator A. So elevator A starts at what floor? Well, we know that the starting location is always on the y-axis. So we know that the elevator A starts on the 12th floor. And then I just need to find another point. So I'm going to pick this one right here, is on the grid line. So I'm going down, I'm falling 2, and I'm running 2. Okay, so for A, I'm falling 2, running 2, divide 1 floor per second. Negative 1 floor per second. And I'm just going to use that slash instead of writing that all out. Okay. Let's look at elevator B. Elevator B is starting at what, floor 10? And then I just need another point. I'll pick that one. And I'm falling 1, 2, 3. So falling 3, running 1, 2, 3. Okay, when I do the division, I get the rate of -1 again. So -1 floor per second for elevator B as well. So same rate, they're just starting on a different floor. All right, let's take a look at letter B. And I'm not going to go through both of them, but let's look at elevator B. Okay, so let's look at elevator B. Where does it start? Okay, it starts at -2. Oops, that's not elevator B. Elevator B starts at -2. What does that mean? So if you remember back to Terrence and the skateboard, we didn't have any negative numbers on our X or our Y axis. Okay, our X-axis was measuring time and our Y-axis was measuring distance from the motion detector. Well, it makes sense that there wouldn't be any negative time. Same in this example, but we have negative distance now. So looking at our labels, so the y-axis is measuring the distance from the ground in floors. So if your distance from the ground in floors is -2, what does that mean? Well, it means you are 2 floors below ground level. So maybe you're in a basement or you're in the parking garage. We don't really have basements around here, but there are basements and floors below ground in other places in the world. We're just too close to the water. Okay. So negative numbers on the y-axis are okay in this situation. They make sense. Right, just need to find the rate. It doesn't matter what we pick. I'm going to pick that point right there. So I'm rising 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm running 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so when I go to find that rate, 4 divided by 4 is 1 floor per second. All right, I know I told you I'm going to skip around a little bit, but the teacher notes will be on the website. So, all right, let's take a look at C. And I'd like to look at elevator A. Okay, so elevator A is starting at 12, and we need to find that rate. So find another point. Okay, rise or fall over run. Okay, I'm falling 1, 2, 3, 4, falling 4, running 1, 2. Okay, do the division, -2 floors per second. Okay, and is there anything else I wanted to look at? Yes, let's actually look at D. And I want to talk not about the rate, but I want to talk about what's happening in this yellow portion right here. Okay, so we have a horizontal line starting at 6 seconds, ending at 10 seconds. So we want to talk about what that means in the context. Okay, so we know that means the elevator stopped, but where and for how long? So we want to say the elevator is stopped 3 floors below ground level because it's at -3. From 6 to 10 seconds. Okay. All right. That's all that I'm going to do for the video today, but keep in mind the notes will be filled out. If you have any questions, feel free to message me in Schoology.